Hello and welcome to some synchronized flipping on the edge. And yes, I know you saw the title of the video. So this is the We Knives Syncro. So Syncro without the H in this case. So SYNCRO instead of CHRO. An in-house designed We knife. So you might be relieved to know I'm not going to be speaking about designers. We will be doing the usual materials, dimensions, and weight, and then I will dive into design and attributes of this very well constructed knife. Right, let's get cracking. Materials we have, and as per usual on a Wee knife, really good materials on this knife. We have a blade steel of CPM S35 VN. Handle is titanium, and in fact, just about everything is titanium. So the clip, the screws, the pivot cap, that is all titanium. And then we have a pivot assembly that makes use of ceramic ball bearings. Right, dimensions and weight. We've got a blade length of 98 millimeters, and that is 3.85 inches. Blade thickness of 4 millimeters, and that is 0.16 inches. Handle thickness is 13 millimeters, and that is 0.51 inches. Closed length of the knife is 124 millimeters, and that is 4.85 inches. Overall length of the knife is 222 millimeters, and that is 8.7 inches. And then, not as usual, I do not have Wee's stated weights written down. I don't know why I didn't do that. But we do have the scale here, and I always do a comparison anyway. So let's have a quick look at what that is on my scale. Let's get that on. What are we on? We're on ounces. 4.4 ounces, and that in grams, 124 grams. Yeah, so perhaps maybe even lighter than one would expect if you look at the size and construction of the knife, because it is a excuse me, a very well constructed knife. So you might have picked it up that this is an integral handle, so integral design handle, meaning that handle is made of one solid piece of titanium, as opposed to any normal knife. And here we go, if we can call this a normal knife. This is the Medford Slim Midi, where the construction is normally two pieces of titanium, and that is either joined with standoffs or you have a backspacer. In this particular case, it is machined out of one solid piece of titanium. So closed back design, but you don't get the seam on that. No joins, very neatly done, and that obviously makes for a very strong, sturdy construction as well. So let's have a look at the overall shape of the knife. A very long, slender knife, very straight lines on this. Does remind me a lot of the also Wee knife, the Miscreant, the Brad Zinker designed knife that also has these sort of straight lines and that general long, slender look. Although I do find that Zinker design, the Miscreant design knife, is sort of more appealing to my eye anyway. So, blade, we have a, what is that? Tanto, sort of a modified Tanto shaped blade. The primary and tip grinds, both of those are flat, full flat grind on the primary grind. You can see that goes all the way up to that little beveled edge on the spine. Big fuller running on that does look good, and I think that's sort of more for aesthetic reasons than anything else. Perhaps, but that does look good. The finish to that blade, we've got a stonewash finish, and that also very neatly done. And speaking about things neatly done, the edge on this blade, as per Wee's normal standards, that edge very neat and very sharp out of the box. Biggish, nicely sized sharpening tool, so it's going to be easy enough to keep that edge neat. And what else on the blade? So the spine of the blade, I mentioned that it's got a little bit of a beveled edge, and that runs all the way along the blade to that point where it narrows down to the tip. No jimping on the spine of that blade. Anything else to mention on there? The flipper, so quite a thin little flipper, sticks out quite far, and some jimping on that, so that makes it easy to flip that knife open, and then that flipper acts as your finger guard as well. Overall shape, I spoke about the fact that it is long and slender, and we've got these straight lines, so you can see that the spine of the blade running straight onto that handle, and the general shape of that handle very squared off, kind of rectangular. and a number of facets on that handle. So running along the back, we've got these straight facets there. We've got that on the front towards the blade side of the handle, this wide beveled edge on the handle there as well. So in general, that shape, the ergos of the knife, very, very good. So that's what that looks like in my hands. A big knife, so I have medium-sized hands. I mentioned before I wear a large glove, and you can see plenty of space at the back of that handle. So bigger paws, this is going to be a knife I think that suits you very well. Your hands will very comfortably get onto this, but that general shape created by those facets does make it very good in hand, as I mentioned. Or did I mention? No hot spots on this. Right, what else? Pocket clip, we've got tip up, not reversible, and not particularly deep carry either. So that is a milled titanium pocket clip, one of those pen style clips, decent amount of space behind that. But that in your pocket, you're going to see the clip, and you're going to see quite a bit of the knife sticking out as well. Right, what else do I need to speak about? So some of the shaping. So the knife, as I mentioned, straight lines everywhere. The sort of curves and circles, the pivot cap, and you've got the lanyard hole neatly done in the back there with its own little beveled edge. But the only other curves, that finger choil, and then that straight line that has been milled on either side onto the handle, actually the same milled line on that pocket clip. That is sort of the profile of that. It has a little bit of a radius. You can see that is curved, but it is a straight line, so curved inwards. With a straight line that way, and that line and the line on the pocket clip sort of carry that design theme through onto that fuller as well. So that's very nicely integrated. These lines that have been milled into the handle, diagonal lines running in two different directions, and where those intersect, it creates that little diamond pattern, and that gives you a little bit of grip on that handle as well. So in general, the construction of this knife, and I'm going to bring another knife out here, being an integral design, I've had two other integral design knives on the channel, both different versions of this knife. So this, the Wee Knife Synergy, and I had the Mini Synergy on very recently, and this, the Synergy 2, the bigger version of it, but also integral design. So the same thing, I mentioned a little more difficult to construct, because you have to sort of mill that solid piece of titanium out to make space for the blade, and a little bit of material wastage as well, that titanium that does get milled out of it. So a little more difficult to construct. It does tend to make the knife a little more pricey, but a little more unusual, I suppose, as well. I mentioned the closed back design and the no seams on that, and the fact that it is very strong. So the same character traits as those that I mentioned when I did the review on the Synergy. Right. The construction on the lock between those knives also very, very similar. So you can see the relief cut, typical relief cut in that lock. It is a frame lock knife, but where you get the stainless steel on stainless steel lockup, so that lock is obviously titanium being one part of the handle, but you get the little stainless steel cap, the way they've constructed it, that goes over that titanium, and that is what gives you the stainless steel on stainless steel lockup. And that done the same way on the Synergy. You can see the color difference on that. The construction around the pivot also the same. So being an integral, you need to get little bits and pieces in there to get the blade in, and the pivot itself and so on. And the way they've constructed that, you've got that little, I mentioned that in those other reviews, you've got this little inlay very neatly done on the titanium, and that a little more obvious on the Syncro. You can see that little inlaid piece of titanium on that handle, but very, very tidily done. And speaking once again of tidy things, the finish on this handle, we've got a stonewash finish on this handle, but we always really do try to get a nice angle of that, really do a beautiful stonewash on their handles. Is that focusing in the right place? Battling with focus again here today. Try to get a good view of that stonewash finish, but it sort of gives you that flecked speckled kind of look about it, where you get the darker bits and the shiny bits and the matte bits, but really beautifully done. There are a couple of versions of this knife, by the way. So this is the green one, and then you get the only difference between the versions, you get a bronze handle version, a gray version, one that is flamed the same way that we always do their flamed handles, and then you get this as well, the green stonewash. Try to get a nice angle of that. Perhaps that's going to come out nicely. We'll see. Right. Right. Let me do this before I do forget. It is another knife that has been supplied by Blades and Triggers. Really do appreciate their ongoing support of the channel. So check this out and other Wee knives and other brands of knives and other tactical goodies on their website, and that is BNT Online. What have I not spoken about? I haven't spoken about action. So the blade runs on those ceramic ball bearings. So as one can expect, the action is absolutely beautiful. And it is a drop shuddy knife as well. So no complaints there either. Some of the things I maybe didn't mention. So the Wii logo, as we always does, on the pivot cap, and on the other side that they've done on a number of knives as well. We've got that sort of cone/domed pivot cap on that side that has those little concentric circles machined into it as well. It's really difficult for the camera to pick that up. But in general, as always, a Wii knife, the fit and finish and the general construction is just bang on. It is nigh on perfect. Wii knives, they really do produce a quality product. Right. What does that leave me to do is size comparison. So let me bring that knife out again, the Wii Synergy, and put those two integral design knives, integral construction, whatever the correct term is, those two. So give you a bit of a sense of them. Right, what else do we have here? The usual knives that I do use. So here is the Spyderco PM3, the smaller version, give you some scale there. The knife that I brought on just now, the Medford Slim Midi, give you some scale of that. And the Spyderco Manix 2, some scale there as well. So you can see that this knife, the Syncro, really is a long, slender knife. And then the other knife that I always do bring out, and I always do say that I use because it has been out for a long time, and if you like knives, you probably will be familiar with that, and that is the Benchmade Mini Barrage. Right. And I think that's about it. Let me just summarize my thoughts on the knife. So I've mentioned it, another beautifully constructed, beautifully made Wii knife. The design of this knife is kind of growing on me. It is a little bit of a plain knife. There's nothing particularly stand out, except for that construction being an integral. But in terms of the shape and the design, a relatively plain knife that might really appeal to you. If I was looking for something this sort of length and the monolithic look, I would probably rather go for the Miscreant, that Brad Zinker design knife. But if this knife does appeal to you and you can carry an EDC this size, there is absolutely nothing not to recommend this knife on. There is nothing really negative to say about the knife. The action is good. The ergos are good. The construction is pretty much perfect. Another beautiful product for Wii knives. It may be a knife, this is an oldie, it's a little bit of throwback perhaps. I think it is a knife that is out of production, but you probably will still find this in the wild or available somewhere. But check it out. As I say, a really great knife. If this appeals to you, highly recommended. Another goodie from Wii Knives. Guys, and I suppose all that really leaves me to do is to thank you for once again joining me. Really do appreciate it when you do, and would equally appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so that you can be notified every time I release a new video, because I really would love you to join me more often. And if you did enjoy the review, please do give it a like, a thumbs up. It does help with the algorithms. And other than that, you go well and God bless.